Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me today. My name's Matt, and I got a new light that's actually super bright and I can't see anything, so let me play the intro and I will figure out in the meantime how I can make it so I can still see the camera. Alright, that's a little better now, and hopefully you can still see me okay. But what I want to talk about today are just 5 tips that I have for new real estate agents out there, or if it's something that you're in the process of going through the school and working towards becoming a real estate agent. These are things that I either wish I knew ahead of time or just things that I've learned along the way that have really helped me out in my career. Anytime you're starting a new career, regardless what industry it is, it's always a little intimidating and there's always going to be a learning curve. So kind of anything you can do to front run that learning curve and just learn as much as you can is always going to be helpful. And I have more than 5 tips, but I wanted to keep this video relatively short. So we'll start with 5. Maybe I'll do some follow-ups after just with more tips, or really anything I pick up along the way. I'll certainly pass along to all of you just to help you out with your career. So the first tip that I have for you is finding a firm that meets your needs. This is something you can actually do while you're in pre-licensing, is just go around and interview different firms and see which is going to be the best one for you. And there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but my biggest suggestion or biggest tip there is, are you looking to have a firm or a broker that is more hands-on? So they have weekly meetings or however many times a week meetings that you would have to attend, spending a certain amount of times in the office and being able to use their resources? Or are you going to be more of a hands-off broker and just figure it out on your own? So okay with working from home, don't need a designated place to go, or you have your own resources. Like I have my own setup, so I don't really need to go anywhere. And really just kind of picking that is going to help you really start off on the right foot, because if you are somebody who prefers having somebody really guiding you through those initial first steps, then you might want somebody who does have these either weekly meetings or touch points or a certain amount of office hours and can just give you that guidance for helping you start your career. But again, as I've said before, when you are starting to become a real estate agent and you're meeting up with these different firms, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. Because you're a contract worker, they can really pick up anybody that they want. So it's really just as important for you to find a place that you fit in. So make sure you just have these questions ready, like, do I need to come into the office? What resources are available for me? What are your commission splits? Anything like that, or any questions you might have, certainly make sure you bring them up. And you can do a little bit of research ahead of time, and that will really make you stand out as well to them. So if you know about like the training programs they have, ask questions about that. If you know about the commission splits that they have, make sure you ask questions about that. And then really from there, just finding the firm that you feel is a good fit, both personality-wise, culture-wise, and again, just overall requirements that they have for you as the agent. The second tip that I have for you is shadow, shadow, shadow. So when you're starting off, there's really a lot for you to learn. And when I say shadow, I think it would be helpful to shadow multiple different people for a few reasons. Mostly so that this way you don't annoy the person, because I know I struggle doing work when somebody's following along and asking questions, and I'm happy to help them, but sometimes it could take away from my work that I'm doing. So finding multiple people within your firm that you can kind of tag along with and ask questions to, maybe go to a few showings or open houses with them, will really go a long way. And I wouldn't even necessarily leave that at just agents and the overall real estate job. I would even suggest maybe if like an inspector, or if your firm works with a property inspector, shadowing with one of them to see an inspection for a house, because that way you know what they are looking for and you could take that knowledge for when you're showing houses to people. So like one thing I learned the other day is, those kitchen island things? I'll put a picture up on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. But apparently a lot of times, even in new constructions, those aren't actually even like drilled into the ground. They're loose and can move, which is a big hazard, especially if you have children that like to climb on things. So even just like walking into a house and knowing to push that and make sure that it's bolted to the ground. Same thing with ovens, making sure that those don't tip over. Looking at the electrical outlets, have they been painted over? Are all of them covered? These are all things that the inspector can teach you, just as well as like vegetation growing out of the house. So Definitely spend some time with an inspector as well, just because when you're showing houses to clients, that'll just make you look like the expert in the area and say, this is stuff an inspector will confirm for me, but just from the inspections that I've been through with my clients or that we've seen with clients, these are the things that they're looking at. And then again, it's just a way for you to present your value that you're creating as the agent. The third tip that I'll have is asking for the pre-approval and when to ask for it. So the reason why the pre-approval is an important thing to ask for is because it really lets you know, if you're working with a buyer, how serious they are about moving forward with a house. It's if they're willing to go speak to a lender or start working with other people to help make this happen, then that really shows that they're interested in it. But if they always kind of put that off or ignore it when you bring it up, then they might just be somebody who's kind of window shopping right now and isn't really that interested. Because pulling your credit score is something that's intimidating to a lot of people, but it's an absolute must if you're going to buy a house. So it is just a question to ask, and really the way I always bring it up is I don't show it, or I don't ask it like on the first showing. Maybe I'll ask it on like the second or third, and I'll just kind of bring it up casually, at the end of the day and just say, hey, have you spoken with a lender at all, or did you have any questions for that? I'll always say, my background's in finance, so if there's any way I can help you out with that portion as well, please let me know, and I'll be happy to give you any information that you might need. And that way, it's not like I'm kind of pressing them or anything along those lines. I'm really here to help and make sure that they understand the pre-approval process. But again, it's more of a way for me to also see their level of commitment and if it's somebody that's really kind of worth me spending that much time on. If they're window shopping, might not be the best use of my time, which does bring me to the fourth tip, which is time management. So, as an agent, how you get your leads is just going to ultimately depend on you and your firm. But when you're meeting with people, you kind of need to realize how serious they are about this process, because there's an entire opportunity cost associated with showing people multiple houses. And that was one of the things I had to learn kind of the hard way starting off is, I had somebody that was refusing to get the pre-approval, but I showed them about 8 different houses, and when they finally got pre-approved, they couldn't get pre-approved because they just started a new job and haven't been in it for 6 months. So making sure, during these conversations that you're vetting out the right questions and getting the right information to see how serious they are. Because if you have multiple clients, people are in closing, people are just getting started, your time gets eaten up very quickly. And driving around, especially in a city like Charlotte where, generally I'm driving 45 minutes away, 30 minutes away, it really varies significantly. It's just important to make sure that you're working with people that are motivated to move forward. And if you find somebody that is very interested in moving forward, then that's somebody that deserves your time. But if it's somebody that has a lot of requirements and just is not really moving, like speaking to a lender or asking about the buying process or asking those kind of questions, then I think it would be really important to maybe see that person's seriousness or just ask them for their timeline. Hey, when are you looking to buy this house? Because we've looked at a few houses together and they've been going quickly, or there's not a large supply. So I'd hate for you to miss out on one of these opportunities of a house you don't like if it's not something you're ready to move forward on. And then just really take the conversation from there, because when you're self-employed, you realize that time is money, and if somebody's wasting your time, they're truly wasting your money. They're wasting your money for you driving to the showing. They're wasting your time and money while you're at the house because you could be working with other clients or taking on new clients. And so time management is going to be very important. Whether you write out a schedule throughout the day, choose how many clients you're going to work with that day, that week, that month, kind of planning all that out is really going to help you be as efficient as possible. Now, lastly, what I have here for you is going to be what I call the batting 300. And what I mean by batting 300 is in baseball. To make it into the Hall of Fame, you need to basically get on base 3 out of every 10 at-bats. So 30% of the time you get on base, which is not a lot of time. And that really translates well into sales, because it's easy for you to go into it and get discouraged when you start missing like 2, 3, 4 sales or keeping people involved in a row. But, don't necessarily hold yourself to that high of a standard, because if you're closing 90% of the deals that come along your way, you should be in a record book. That's pretty unrealistic to be able to do, especially as a new agent. So lower that standard for yourself, or don't hold yourself to such high expectations. Nobody's expecting you to close 100% of the deals that you get, so taking it back to baseball. Nobody's really expecting you to hit a home run every at-bat. Nobody expects you to get on base at every at-bat. They hardly even expect you to get on base 30% of the time. And if you manage to do that, you'll find yourself in the Hall of Fame. So just translate that over to sales. Maybe if you want to hold yourself to like 50%, go for it, just so you have like that reach goal. But just having a realistic mindset and knowing that if you close 20% of the deals or 25% of the deals that come your way, especially as a new agent, you're doing a great job. And that's kind of something that was admittedly a little discouraging for me at first, is meeting with a few people, nothing's moving forward. Now it's like months out of being at a job and I just can't get people to really commit to it. But that's that initial learning curve. And once I kind of heard that phrase of the batting 300, that made me feel a lot more comfortable or confident in my skills, knowing that it's not just me. People will just want to look at houses because they're bored, or they're not that serious about buying a house, or their expectations are unrealistic with how much they can afford. And so that's what really, again, just helped give me the confidence for, they might not buy, that's okay. I got somebody else that's ready to go. And then they have some friends that are also looking for houses. So once you get that one conversion, it'll really be more or less of like a ripple effect from there. But just start off slowly. I guess I can include in that is don't bite off more than you could chew either. So take it slow and steady at the beginning. Make sure that when you take on clients, only take a handful, and maybe even take less than what you think you can handle, just because things are going to come up along the way, and your kind of composure, calmness, and collectiveness throughout this entire process really is going to speak a lot to the clients. Because if you're always flustered and running out of time and needing to go to other appointments and can't help them out, it's not going to give you the best reputation, or they're not going to think that well of you. But if you have only 3 people you're working with at a time, and you can commit all of your time to all of them, with the occasional, lapses or nuances, that's totally fine. But that'll just show that you're committed to them, you're here to help, and it just is a way to create value for yourself, especially as a new agent. Because I'm a big believer in creating that value and really giving people a positive experience to start off is going to help get your name out there. They have friends, they have family, they might need help with somebody moving, or they might need to buy a house again in the future. And so just creating that value starting off is going to have a very positive ripple effect for you. So hope you found this video helpful today. I know it was a little quick video. I'm looking at the time here. It wasn't too quick, but these are just the things that I, again, either wish I knew going into real estate or I've learned along the way. And I hope that maybe one of these tips is something you'll take into consideration as you're starting this career. As always, please let me know what questions you have in the comment section down below. Happy to address them, happy to make any videos on any questions that you might have, so always feel free to let me know about that. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're right here with me, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for your time today. Like the video if you want, subscribe again if that's something that you're into, but for the time being, I'll let you go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day.